Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So we got another Monday Night Meatloaf here. I know how much you guys like the meatloaf. Got a bunch of stuff on this one. So we got some flea market finds. We got a really good response on my chuck key problem for my four-jaw. So we're going to work on a solution for that. I got a lot of good information. I ordered some tools and gathered up some materials, and so we'll make a little video project out of that. What else? Got some viewer appreciation stuff and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So let's suit up and let's get to it.
Okay, so somebody suggested I try to shoot a little video through this Toolmaker's microscope, so we're going to attempt. See how that comes out. So I'm just going to zoom into the objective here. Let's try that. Now I've got a little ruler on the stage right now. So let me just pan around a little bit. Let's see if you guys can figure out what this is here. All right. So those are the divisions on the ruler, and you can see I can just position and I can line up on an edge, and then I can use the rotary part of the stage to align, for example, on the edge of the ruler there, like that. Okay, I get square with the world, and I can come up. Now this is a 64th of an inch graduations on this ruler here. So from here, from that edge to that edge is 15 thousandths of an inch. Let's try playing with the lighting a little bit here. If it makes any difference. No, not really. It's just this particular objective. So we're going to scroll down here. Those are the divisions there. And then that. See if you guys can figure out what that is there. I'll kind of pan around a little bit. Look like a number. Okay, now let's scroll over here. So that's the numerals 64 there. So with let's go back up here to the top here with these graduations. I can measure with the dials on the little hand wheels here. The distance between here and here, or from there to there, or the width of that, or the height of the line there, etc. So that's how the Toolmaker's microscope is used. So I'll zoom back out and so you can see the whole thing again too, just as a reminder. Anyway, that kind of works. So if we have something to measure in the future, we can try using the camera through the lens like that. Actually, it's kind of nice because I'm looking at the display on the camera, and instead of craning my neck over this thing and having my eye jammed up into the lens. Okay, so this was the setup here on the microscope. So let's just run this up, and you guys can see what was on the stage there. Let's see, does it help if I turn that on? Yeah, there. You can see the little ruler, and I'll zoom in on that a little bit so you guys can see it too. So, okay, so there's what we were looking at. Let me rotate the stage around. Anyway, that's a little piece of ruler that we were looking at. And we were looking at the 6 and the 4 on that little ruler there through the objective. Anyway, kind of cool and useful for measuring things that are difficult to measure with regular instruments, things that are too fragile or they distort when they have measuring pressure on them, or it's just a feature that's inaccessible by regular measuring instruments.
All right, so we got some flea market finds for this weekend. Let's show you a couple of things. It was kind of slim pickings, but I got a couple of things. It was worth going. Got outdoors and saw a friend of mine, so it was all worthwhile. Okay, so first item, let's look at the first item here. This is a nibbler, and it's made by, what is this, Super Ego. I think it's a European country. It does kind of slotting in sheet metal, and it's got a little guide here, and it's got a little finger that nibbles things out. This was $5. Let me get something here let me go snag something to do a little demo with there. Okay, so I got a little piece here, and the way this works is you basically stick that finger up under there, and then just start working it, and it cuts a little slot out, which is kind of nice if you want to cut a little rectangle out or something like that. You can do that. Stuff that's kind of hard to do with excuse me, with snips like that. I don't know, can we get it in there? Yeah, they don't turn corners, they just kind of do straight lines. Anyway, this is a little nibbler, and you can cut little squares out with it and stuff like that. It's kind of nice. This is what is this? This is about 20 gauge galvanized. Let's see. I think I got some calipers right here. Yep. Let's see. That's 25 thousandths thick. I don't know, what is that? 0.6 millimeters. And it says this will do up to 1.2 millimeters thick material. Now that's probably kind of soft stuff, but anyway, it's kind of nice. They got good leverage, good grips on them. $5 for those, so I jumped on those. Let's see here. That goes like that. Okay. All right. Next item. Let's see, what was the next item? I bought some reading glasses, but those are pretty boring. Guy had a good deal on them. Next one that was kind of nice was I got a bunch of taps from a guy. Now these are high performance taps here, 3-flute spiral point, this particular one, but it's coated, and then and I'm familiar with these guys here. These are YMWs, and which is a good high performance brand, and these have a coating, and these are optimized for stainless steel. Now there's a couple smaller ones. These look like they've been used a little bit, but they still felt pretty good, so I went ahead and bought them. And these are nice because they're relieved behind the threads here, so you can actually go, you can tap pretty deep with these if you want. These are half 13, quarter 20, and then this guy here, this is an M12 tap, and this is just a spiral flute tap, and it feels nice and sharp. So whenever I see these now for cheap, I just buy them and get them because these push the chips out of the holes, and this is a plug tap here, so it gets real close to the bottom of the hole. And then this one I just had to have because it was so relieved and so peculiar. This is 3/8 24, and it feels pretty good, but it's relieved behind the threads for a long way, so you could tap reach a little ways or tap a pretty deep hole with that if you wanted to. And then so what you look at is you look at the drive on these to see if they've been driven on real hard, and these don't show any marks on them. These show a little bit, but not much, and those are the ones that seem like they were used. So, and then these are the buttes here. These are solid carbide, and what these are dovetail O-ring groove cutters here, made by a company called AB Tools. And I've bought a few of these over the years for doing retentive O-ring grooves on the mill. And you can grind these also, so you can use them in the lathe, and they sell some that are relieved for using in the lathe. But this makes a perfect dovetail O-ring groove with all the little radii and everything in one pass, basically. These are about $90 a piece from AB Tools, and this is for a 1/8 cross section O-ring. And I think this is the same here. Yeah, AB Tools, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, DT 1/8. Anyway, I got 2 of those, solid carbide. They feel great. So that was worth the price of admission right there. So for all this right here, $12. And he wanted 15 and I offered 10 and da-da-da. He came back with 12. So I said, fine, we'll go for it. So we dickered a little bit. Let's see, this was next here. This guy had a couple of wrenches. This is a, did I blow it here? Oh, look at that. You know what? I think I shot myself in the foot there. I had a Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T wrench in my hand, and then I picked this one up. This one's unmarked, so you know what? Oh well. Anyway, I paid $1 for it, so it's not a big deal. But it's 1/4 and 5/16 with a big offset, which I didn't have one of those, so I went ahead and got it. Go figure. I thought this was marked, but it wasn't. So oh well. For $1, I don't think I'm hurting too bad. Okay, and then the last thing is this guy here. This is a Lufkin angle gauge, and this fits in, and I don't have one of the squares handy right now, but it fits in a little combination square, and you can sharpen drills on one side, and then you can sharpen check countersinks on the other. So it fits in a square, and you get a precision angled surface there to gauge your drill lips on that. And you can see that it's an odd width, so it doesn't fit in a standard combination square. This is 7/8 wide, I think, which is kind of a goofy size. Yeah, it's 7/8 wide instead of 1 inch. So I got to find a square around here that this will fit in. So anyway, that was $12 for that, but that's pretty nice. I bought that from my friend out there. Anyway, that's about it for the flea market finds. All right, so we got one last tool here. A friend of mine at work gave me this, and anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. It's called a Pickwick Teeny Turner, made in Canada. Handle shank made in Canada, bits made in Taiwan. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I guess that's what you call a collaboration, right? Well, it's just a little kind of a stubby screwdriver here. I'm going to pull this tag off since I'm kind of ready to go with it. And hopefully you guys can see that. And I don't think there's anything good on the back here. Anyway, make sure I'm still in the frame there. Yeah, good. So it's just a fine blade kind of electronic screwdriver. But what was intriguing for me when he gave it to me was it has a bunch of Torx sizes. A la inserted lathe tools in milling cutters, so this right in the region there. So now you can see here it looks like a Smith & Wesson there, but how do you get those out of there? Well, you can't really push them out with your finger. The way it works is you pop this out of here, and then when you want to use that bit, you shove that one through, and then you get this one out here, and then she goes in like that. So you never, well, unless you're determined, it's tougher to lose a bit. So anyway, I thought that was pretty good. I haven't tried it on an insert there. There's a Torx, and that's a T8 there, and it's got a magnet in there, a nice little rare earth magnet that you can hear it. Boom, and it goes right in there. Anyway, it's a good size. It's a nice bright color. I'm going to try it out, and anyway, he gave me that as a little gift there, guy at work. So thanks, Bill. Okay, so today was a banner day with the delivery guys. So I got a couple packages from U.S. Post Office delivered, and then a UPS from McMaster. So we did pretty good. And so we'll open those up and look at those tools in there. So the first one is we got a box, and this is what it sounded like. So it didn't have a lot of packing in it. So we'll open it up and do a little close up on this, and we'll talk about the contents a little bit. So The other one was a box from McMaster, and it had a slide hammer in it and a couple of impact sockets, and we're going to talk about the what we're going to do with these impact sockets. Okay. And then the last one, I got to move the camera over, and we'll go look at that one too. So, but let's look at this one first in close up. All right. Let's open the rattly one. This box is from a viewer in Florida. His name is Joe Hale, and Joe works for a company called guess what? It's called Bolt Nut. Okay, it's called Bolt Nut Inc. and they're in Florida, and they make specialty fasteners. He's a big fan. He watches the videos, and he and I email back and forth a little bit offline. And so what he wanted to send me here was these elevator bolts. And these elevator bolts, he thought that they would be a good choice for the aluminum lathe backing plate that I use to space off of the back of the chuck. So we're going to try those out for that and see how they work. They got a nice flat contact surface there, and then you can still turn them from the outside pretty easily. So, excuse me. And so anyway, we're going to try those out. He sent me 6 of those, and that's 3/16 size. And then it looks like he swept up the floor in one area there and sent a little assortment, and he's got a little note in here. Here are the bolts for your spin deck. He calls it spin deck. Huh, okay, that's a good name. And some extra goodies. It's a flat rate box after all. Yeah, okay, this is true. Thanks for all the videos and taking time to answer my questions. Okay, Joe. Yeah, well, thanks, Joe, for taking the time to load up a goodie box for me and send it out. So we got some, looks like half 13 dog point set screws here. These are always nice. They got a nice flat tip on them, and so we got a bunch of those. What else we got in here? And we got some, looks like 1032 button heads here. I like button heads. They just have a nice finished look to them on a project. They don't stick up so much. Their only drawback is the driver is smaller than for a regular socket head, and it's a smaller size and it's not as deep. So they're easy to cam out and strip out the drive. Let's see what else we got in here. Looks like there's some set screws in here. 2 different sizes. These look like 1032s, and these are 8s. Yeah, probably 8s. They look like 8s. Anyway, those are always, these would be good for the mini pallet. 1032 set screws, I use a lot of those. These are kind of long ones here, but that's okay. They'll work good for the mini pallets, so we'll throw those in the kit. Anyway, thanks, Joe. Appreciate the care package there, and this stuff won't go to waste, and we'll make some good stuff with it. Okay, I'll try to incorporate this into some of the work that we're doing. All right, let's try out these elevator bolts here that Joe sent us. So this is a little backing plate here, and I just had some flatheads in there, regular flatheads. Well, I'm not going to do them all. You guys get the idea. So this is we're going to replace these with these elevator bolts. Okay, they're a little snugger, which is actually kind of good. So what I do is I set those in there like that. Put a second one in there. Yeah, I'm liking that thread fit there. It's a little snugger than those guys. Then what I do is I use the calipers, and then I just measure from this face to that face, and then I adjust them to some number. So I'm 1991, so let's make it 2 even, right? Okay, and then I just go around and do all 6 of them and get them the same distance from here to the face. Then banco, I drop it in the chuck, and I got a good spacing off of the back of the chuck. And this is great for doing drilling and stuff like that. And you know, they get chewed up because you use them. And the idea is that every once in a while, you know, you go ahead and just face them off, and now you got this nice pristine surface again. And some guys will actually poke a small hole through the center too. I don't usually do that because it's never the right size, and you know, these things, they don't sit exactly on center, so sure as crap you need that hole to be kind of not running concentrically, and it's not. So I don't bother putting a hole in them myself. Anyway, so thanks Joe, thanks for the elevator bolts, and I'll put the rest in and we'll try it out. Okay, so I figured I'd go ahead and just re-show this real quick, how this backing plate works here. So if you have something skinny like this and you want to get it in the chuck and you want to get it straight with the world, you just use this guy here. You plop that in there and you can adjust the distance off of the back of the chuck, and now you can just pop that guy right in there and you got something to put it up against, and I'm off and running. And usually what I do is, you know, to make sure it's all nice and tight, go and tap that in, and that way that's sitting against there and it doesn't rattle or anything like that. So, quick way to get something in there to a thin disc that you need to do some work on. Alright, so one of the flat rate boxes that showed up was real heavy, and this is what was in it. These are the drive gears for the etching press. This is it's a cycloidal drive. So it's a gear reducer, and this is this flame cut here. And Steve Cox, Buck Run 11, and I'll put a link to his YouTube channel up there. He actually shot a video of after he had cut these for me. We did a little horse trading, and I had something he needed, and he is his day job is a operator for plasma and oxy fuel computer controlled cutting rig. He does big cutting and stuff like that. Well, the timing was good, and we bumped into each other at the right time. Anyway, this is going to be the drive gear for the big etching press hand wheel. So I just want to throw out a nice thanks and a shout out for Steve Cox and Buck Run 11. Go check his YouTube channel out and subscribe. He's got 200 and something videos, so he's got a bunch of videos, interesting stuff. So anyway, thanks Steve, really appreciate it. Thumbs up, buddy. I owe you. Okay, thank you. All right, so here's the approach I'm going to take on this chuck key problem. So I got a lot of good ideas from guys, and I actually ordered some other tools also that in case this doesn't work, one of those things, you know, kind of fallback position. So this is the chuck key that I made a while back, and it's made up out of some pieces, and it's got a square that fits my 10 millimeter male square on my 4-jaw chuck. So what I need to do is I need to produce that again in an easy way for making a new, you know, heavy duty chuck key for that. So what I decided to do was use a couple of impact sockets, and these are just 3/8 drive impact sockets, and I bought these from McMaster-Carr, and they were, I don't know, $4 a piece or $6 a piece or something. I don't remember now what they were. They were pretty cheap, and these are actually protos, and it's a goofy size. It's 11/16, and the reason it's 11, the hex is 11/16. I was looking at the OD of this, and so that had the OD that I wanted, and it's clear all the way through. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a tool, and we're going to resize this square here. Okay, so this square in this, it's 3/8 drive, but it's going to be a little bit bigger. So it's like 384, 385, something like that. Okay. Yeah, 385, something like that. And we really want that to be around 400, something like that, okay?
And this one's, I should be pretty close to 400 here, 399, 400 right in there, okay? And that fits real nice, and you know, it doesn't rattle around too much, but you can get it on easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a tool, and but what's cool about the way we're going to try anyway, is we're going to do this hot. We're going to hot swage this is what we're going to do. We're not going to cut it. We're just going to resize it. Okay, it's pretty close. Okay, so 385 to 400. We don't have to move it very much. Okay, and what we're going to use for a tool, we're going to make a tool, and I got a couple of beater old form taps here out of the junk bin, and so we're gonna this is high speed steel here, okay, and so this is gonna make a good tool, and we've got a square on the end here that's pretty close, okay, not miles off, okay. So we got good steel, we got a square that's already started, and so this is what we're going to use as our donor tool here for our hot forming tool. Now, one thing about high-speed steel, it maintains its hardness and strength, or a lot of its strength, at red heat. So, you know, in a lathe tool, you're cutting, that tip is actually getting very hot, right? But it maintains its hardness and it still cuts even at high temperature. So we're going to heat this up red hot, and we're going to drive our hot swage tool into the end of this and just resize this, and then so we're going to drive this in, and then we're going to pull it out. So I ordered a slide hammer, so we're going to make an adapter to adapt this to the slide hammer. And I have another project for the slide hammer, so I kind of wanted the slide hammer anyway, so it wasn't a stretch for me to buy one. I was like, okay, I think I'll just use that. So anyway, let's get started on that, and we'll get going, and we'll make some tooling, and then we're going to resize these and make our own female square chuck key. Now, you know, people will say, gee, that's a lot of work, but it's fun, okay? So I'm having fun. That's why I'm doing it. Yeah, I could probably buy one, and but it's a lot funner to, for me anyway, to make the tools, and you guys get some enjoyment out of watching that. And we try a new technique out here that you might need for something else, okay? So, you know, somebody sent me a link to an eBay auction in Germany, and I can buy the chuck key that I want from Germany. It's 10 euros and then about 8 euros to ship it, something like that. You know, I'm probably going to buy that one too, just because, and but we're going to do this because this is fun, okay? That's why we do some of this stuff, just because it's fun. Okay, so we got this. This is a 3/4 tin form tap, and we're going to lop this off here, and this is going to be our tool, our swaging tool that we're making. Let me get set up here. Okay, so for those of you guys that haven't used these are these Walter zip cuts. These are really, really good cutoff discs. I've never had one blow up on me. They last a long time. They come in a couple different thicknesses and diameters. They're just great. Okay, now we got a cutoff piece. I'll dress the end, and then we're going to turn that down. Okay, let's stick this in the collet block. Sticking up. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna face the end of this a little bit, and then we'll turn the diameter. Probably good enough on the facing. Now we're going to turn the OD. So the trick here, this is a carbide insert, and it's going to wear the insert real rapidly. But if you take light cuts, then you can do this kind of a thing here. So let's turn some OD there, and I may have to swap the insert, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So. Turn around now. I'll take a measurement, and we're going to turn it down so it fits our collet for the decal. Okay, nice finish. That's because it's harder than bat snot. All right, 580, 5854. Okay. Okay, so now we'll turn it down. My biggest collet for the decal is 1/2 inch, so I got to turn this down so I can grind that properly. So. That's about a 6/1000 cut there. And the feed rate is, I'll look at the feed rate here in a sec. Let's see what the feed rate is. Where the heck are we here? 8G BC. C 8. Longitudinal 14.7, 3.5. So that's about 6/1000 feed there. BCF, BC, BCG, BCG. 4/1000 per rev. Yeah. Okay. I recently changed the gear in the gearbox, and so I have to think about. I have to double the feed rates. That are listed here because of this change gear that I put in. All right. Let's see what we got there. Alright,
think I'll take that to the bank. All right, so yeah, see if this thing will knock a little edge off of that. So I think I'm pretty happy. Let's go over to the decal. Okay, so we're kind of set up over here on the decal. I'm gonna dress the wheel first, and then I'm gonna zoom in and bring you guys in a little closer so you can see a little bit of the process. I'm not gonna do the whole thing on camera, but I just want you guys to kind of get the idea. So let's go ahead and dress this. This out of the way. Normally you'd swing it around this way, but it was in the way, so I just kind of loosened that separately. Okay, so we got a good clean dress on the wheel. Now we're going to come in and just change the size of the square to match our 10 millimeters. So okay, here we go. So it's going to take a little while. This wheel's loading up pretty bad too, so I'm going to redress it. And I might switch wheels too. Yeah. Alright, we're on the final bit here. Yeah, I'm gonna call that good. Okay, so there's our forming tool there, and let's get it out of there. Okay, so I made the adapter off camera, so that's got the 5/8 18 for the slide hammer, and then it's 1/2 inch here for the high-speed forming punch. So anyway, I'll press those together, and then I'll probably put a little bit of weld around there with some silicon bronze just to make sure that it doesn't come out, because I'll be pulling it out too when I do the forming. So anyway, so there's how the grinding came out. You can see that it's pretty good. It's a lot of grinding of high-speed steel for that little decal. It doesn't have the power to do this. I should have done this on a surface grinder, but I don't have one. So anyway, it came out pretty good. It just took a while, and it was probably some boring ass video. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and
I cleaned this, and I'm just going to go ahead and press this in there and get it ready for welding. Okay. Alright. Well, it's not that tight, but it's okay. It's not going to matter because I'm going to put a little weld on there to retain it. So, okay. Okay, so we're ready to do a little welding here. Fire up the machine. Now we're gonna use this is silicon bronze or Everdur rod, kind of a low temperature rod that we're gonna attach those two pieces together with. This is high-speed steel here, and then this is just cold rolled here. I got a good tack on it now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp the, see that's not, I can still put my hand on that, it's not too hot. I'm going to clamp this part in the copper jaws here to suck some of that heat off of that. Oh, I'm going to reset the shot a little bit. Alright, so we're just going to clamp the important part in the copper jaws to draw some of the heat off that builds up in that. I had one little piece of rod left and I made it all the way around, so I'm just going to leave it in the vise like that. Let's turn it down a little bit so you can see it. Now, you know what? I want to leave it in the jaws there. All right, we're going to let that cool off, and then that one's kind of ready to go. Okay, so you can see that this low temperature process here of this Everdur, the heat didn't leak down into this area here. This is high-speed steel, so it doesn't matter that much. It retains its strength even at red heat. That's why it's called high speed. Anyway, you can see the heat affected zone only comes back a little ways here. And anyway, it lays in there. This is a great material for joining kind of dissimilar metals like that. Anyway, that'll be plenty strong for doing our broaching operation that we're going to do with that. So this is a great technique for adding a tool bit on the end of a boring bar for some kind of strange application where you need to make something up real quick and you don't have a bunch of time to machine a proper boring bar or something more permanent. Anyway, so that's Everdur, sometimes called Everdur, otherwise known as silicon bronze TIG welding rod. Alright, looks like we got all the pieces of the puzzle now. We got the slide hammer, we got our tool here. So this goes on here on the 5/8/18 thread. And then let's go ahead and snug that up a little bit. Okay, and then there's our socket that we're going to resize. And this is just kind of a dry run here. This would actually probably almost work like this. So the idea, you can already see, I need to put a little lead in on this so that it kind of gets started in the and that guy there. So we're gonna heat that up hot, and then get this on there like that, and then boom, 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 and we're gonna drive that pucker in there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna I got plenty of length here, so I'll put a little lead in on that so that I get oriented correctly in this square, so that I have a minimum amount that I have to expand. So it's going from 385, I think that was, to 400, so it's really not moving it very much. It's just probably going to discolor it and pretty much look the same. Probably still work on a 3/8 drive ratchet too. So so we're going to make the extension rod and the cross handle and all that stuff, and then we'll heat this thing up and go for it.